I used to be a huge Howard Stern fan. I've listened for years, going back to the early days of Artie. And even through the archives, I've become familiar with his even older shows. But a couple weeks ago, I just couldn't take it anymore. So this is my breakdown of why I stopped listening to the Howard Stern Show. Robin. She adds nothing to the show. Not only does she actively add nothing, I would say she takes away from the show. Her laugh is so fake. I don't even know when she even does real laughs anymore. I couldn't tell you. Her laughs are so fake and just gives approval to everything that Howard says, no matter what it is. Just instant approval. Like he's probably not even done. The words aren't even done coming out of his mouth, and she's already just like approving or laughing. It's one of the main reasons I just can't listen anymore. Is every time she talks, it's just unbearable. Ugh. Not only does she add nothing, but I get the impression that she does nothing for the show. Like she does no prep work. She's never in the writers' meetings. She has nothing to do with the show. She just wakes up, sits in her chair, and now turns on her camera and her mic, and then just haha, oh Howard, the whole show. Like she doesn't even do the news anymore. Like so, what does she do? Just give Howard approval and just laugh at every single thing that he says. Even when he's like not joking, she'll just laugh. It's oof. If she were to leave, if they were to replace Robin with a comedian, I think the show would instantly get better. I think the show was always better when there were comedians in doing the news. Uh, just another comedic presence, whether it's male or female, just another actual comedic presence that Howard could bounce off of. Because Robin is, she does not know comedy. She really does not belong on the Stern Show. She started off as a newswoman who now no longer reads the news. She does nothing. She doesn't even have a segment on every episode. Like she has no signature segment. She does nothing, adds nothing. Get her out. But he won't. She'll be there to the end. Another reason I stopped listening is he just keeps going back to the same boring callers over and over again. It's just like, I'm sure, I don't know how many people listen. I'll say thousands. I was going to say millions, but who knows at this point. You know, there's a lot of people that listen. And he just goes to the same like 5 callers over and over again. And they're not even good callers. Maybe at once they were, maybe a long time ago. But, oh, apples. Why does he pick up on apples every day? And King of All Blacks. He gave King of All Blacks like a 90-minute segment one time. Give that time to Sal. Give it to somebody who's actually interesting. But no, let's just bullshit with King of All Blacks for 90 minutes about the watches and cars and just stupid shit just to piss Ronnie off. Like, do something creative. No, let's just have apples. Let's have King of All Blacks. Who else we have? Mike from the Bubba Show or something like that calls in. Like they add nothing. They're just like, I'll give you what. I like Ralph. I don't think they ever give Ralph enough time. Honestly, I can't even think of any more callers because they're just so unmemorable. I know there's Dry Lisa. Those I'll cover that in another segment, but he doesn't pick up on anybody interested anymore. The calls that they do pick up on, they sound so staged. I mean, I know some of them are staged, like because it's the writers calling in, but sometimes the people, it just everything sounds so fake. Another reason is the huge backlog of material that we will never see. There's probably dozens, if not way more, just like already in the can done segments ready to go. We'll never see them. Why? Because of some of the reasons that I've listed already and that are coming up. His ego, he stretches things too long. his time management is terrible. I'm sure there's like 15 segments of like Wolfie or Chris Wilde or Mehmet going somewhere and doing some remote segment with like crazy people, and we're just never going to hear it. I actually do really like the writers on the Howard Stern show, and I feel like he doesn't give them a chance to shine. I feel like they probably have so much material and we're just never going to see it. Not enough prank calls. Apparently, like, that's all Sal and Richard do is make prank phone calls. Yet I hear like a new one maybe once every 2 weeks. And it's always like really cut up and short. Like, where are all the prank phone calls? I'm sure that's part of another thing, the huge backlog that we'll just never get to. Like, one of my favorite parts of about the show are the prank phone calls. And like I said, you get like a new one maybe once a week, but still not even really. Not enough wackpack. It seems like even though they're dying off, the Stern Show has been weaning itself away from the wackpack. Based off of what I heard of why Shuley left, he specifically said that that's what they were doing. They wanted to get away from using the wackpack. And I think that's a shame because this is one of the reasons that people love the Stern Show is the wackpack. High Pitch Eric, Wendy, Eric the actor, God rest his soul, Jeff the drunk, like Bigfoot. These are all characters we love to hear from, and we don't hear enough from them. They don't do enough stuff with them. I think they should have them in the studio all the time, on the street, segments, doing stuff with them, putting it on the app. But no, you'll get a phone call here and there. You'll get just drops of Wendy. Not enough Whackpack. No song parodies. Maybe they play a couple, maybe like one new one a show. Not even, that's too much. But honestly, I can't remember the last time they played one. Now that they don't do the news anymore, there's not an opportunity to play a Robin song. So they don't do Robin songs, they don't do any parody songs. They release the Baba Booey ones on 4th of July on the app, but they don't play them on the show anymore. Puppets. Why puppets? I don't have Sirius in my car. I sometimes would use it on the desktop, like through Firefox or something, but the majority of the time, I would listen to the Howard Stern Show through the Sirius app, unfortunately for me. That app is so bad, especially for one that you pay for. I mean, I know it's free, but you can't really use it unless you pay for Sirius, so you're paying for the app. It crashes every time I listen to it. Every single time it crashes. So it's like you can tolerate it to a degree, but it's like, you're in the shower, you're driving, and it just stops. Well, you can't just always get to it and like restart it. It's such a hassle. It would crash every single time. Multiple times. It would probably crash between 5 and 60 listening to just one show. So bad. I just feel like the app was very underutilized. Like, I know there's archives around there, but like there was just no video coming out. There was no new video content. And like that was a huge part of the show, is like being able to see it, even though it's a radio show, but there's some things you just really want to see and you can't anymore, even though they videotape everything. They put nothing on the app. Like the last new thing they did video wise was like the Hollyweird Squares, which was like a year ago, probably more than that now. Like they just don't use it. Like they should be having Wackpack stuff on there, like just doing like side stuff, putting like back stuff, backlogs, like remotes on. Like it's so terrible. And then the video that they do have is still censored. It's like we're paying for a premium service. We're all adults, and you're still censoring the stuff. Like, why? You're censoring yourself. The FCC is not doing this. You're censoring yourself. Why? Who are you? I remember there was like a Sal and Richard thing, and I don't remember what. It was some gross thing, probably involving their dicks or butts. But it was entertaining, and I wanted to see it. And they're like, as they were doing it, they're like, oh yeah, we'll throw it up on the app. They don't throw anything on the app. But what they did, I remember they did put it up eventually. It took days to put it up. and it was all censored out. You can't see anything. So it's like, what? Why am I watching this? This is so stupid. I would say the majority of the bits that they do now are so long. Too long, I would say. I know recently he did an ass napkin Ed impression. It was like the whole second half of the show. And then like Chris started doing it and that kept it going longer. And then I feel like they just did it again the whole next show. And it's not like they had a bit or anything ready. They're just talking in that voice for an hour and a half or more. And it's just like, do creative things, do different things, switch it up, keep us entertained. No, don't just riff on something. Like that's what he does now. He's just like, oh, I'm just gonna. It's so bad. Another thing I remember going way too long is like the Millie Bobby Brown agent. I remember being just multiple shows. It seemed like a half hour or more. I remember he would just start off the show with like a 45-minute Millie Bobby Brown's agent impression, who just sounds like somebody from Chicago on a phone. And it's just like, who's asking for that? Who? The bits just go on too long. He stretches everything too long. He doesn't just take what's funny and move on. It's just like, how long can I talk about this single subject? Let's try 45 minutes. Like, this is why they never get through anything in the panel, because they get through like 3 clips and that's all they have time for, because he just keeps talking. Howard's ego. Ugh. They have never gotten through a single panel segment and finished it, I swear. First of all, they either just keep pushing it back day after day because he never gets to it. And when they finally get to the panel segment, they get through like 4 entries of just the first person because they just stretch it out so long. Like, and then they just throw everything back in the backlog and they never get to it. Because Howard has to just keep going and going on something. Also, I get the impression that he always has to be the funniest person. He cuts off when his writers are. I will say I do like some of the writers. I love Sal and Richard. Chris is okay. Jason's okay. But I don't mind hearing from them. I think it's great when they have more people in studio because I hate when it's just him and Robin. But I noticed that a lot of times he will cut them off and just really limit their airtime. And I think that's a shame because I think the show would be better if he gave his writers more airtime. His age is really starting to show. Just listening to him explain stuff sometimes is so cringe. It's just, and especially Robin too. She's so old. And it just shows. Like hearing them talk about like logging into streaming services or just like anything with internet or technology, it's just, ugh, it's so hard to hear them talk about it. Or like, even like sometimes they talk about like new celebrities or movies and like they just get like the name wrong and they keep talking about it for like a half hour and they just keep getting the name wrong and it's like, you guys are so old and just so not with it. It just really shows. I hate the sex talk. Let me rephrase that. I hate hearing Howard talk about sex. I could listen to Ronnie, Chris. I can listen to a lot of people talk about sex, but Howard is so sexually uptight. It's sad, really. He still has sex with a condom. He's been married for like 20 years and he still has sex with a condom. I don't think Beth can even have kids anymore, but he just likes the way it feels. Like, what a weirdo. Like, he tries to shame Ronnie all the time about like Ronnie's awesome. Ronnie's like sexually like free, just like having a fucking good time, and Howard has to try to shame him about it, like that he likes stuff up his ass or that he like experiments with stuff. Howard just like probably does like 2 positions and he calls it bang o'clock because he's a fucking 70-year-old man. It's like the corniest thing ever. It's just so cringe to hear him talk about sex. He's just so uptight. He's experienced so little. I really hate it. They have the same Hollywood guests over and over. How many times are you going to have Alec Baldwin over? What is this, Saturday Night Live? Miley Cyrus, her new album. I'm sure it sucks. You're going to say it's great. Let's have her on for the 15th time. Get some new guests. Get interesting celebrities. Get funny comedians. You don't have to get people that are just top of the tier celebrities. Like he just had the three women from Friends. Who in his audience like would want to hear that? Like, his traditional audience, like his raunchy male audience. Ooh, let's hear an interview with the three women of Friends. How about you get somebody fresh, somebody funny, somebody interesting? He tells the same stories over and over and over again. And it's like, how many new listeners do you think you have? We've all heard this story 100 times. We could tell it better than you at this point. I'm a big fan of when he does his parents' impressions, but tell some new stories. My God, like the same stories over and over, and he still complains about living and growing. And he still complains about growing up in Roosevelt. Like, dude, that was like 50 years ago. Get over it. At the very least, leave it in therapy because it's not funny anymore. We've heard it too many times. This is a big one for me. Staff exits. People just leave the show and you never hear about them ever again. It's like they just dropped off the face of the earth. Scott the engineer, Brent, Shuley, these are the latest ones to go, and you just hear nothing. I just recently realized Shuley hasn't been on the show in a long time, and I haven't heard him with Underdog or anything. So I looked it up on the internet. Oh, he quit. He was a huge part of the show. Not that I was his biggest fan, but he was a main character of the show, just off. Never to hear from him again. Like, how do you not talk about that? Even just talking about when people leave would be way more interesting than the stuff they do now. Instead of doing a 45-minute impression of Ass Napkin Ed, how about you talk about why Brent's not there anymore? What happened? Was it something to do with the swinging? Was it drugs? Because the last time we heard about Brent, it was Hollywood Squares and his wife got banged by Jackhammer. Then they went to LA and he was just real shady down there. And then you just never hear from him ever again. Like, what happened? Talk about it. It would be so interesting, but no, let's not. And along the same lines, once you leave the show, it's like you never existed in the first place. On the app, it's so hard to find any clips with Artie, Stuttering John. Honestly, I've never even heard Stuttering John in any of the replays. No mention of him, nothing. It's like he never existed. Sometimes you hear Jackie's laugh. Sometimes, rarely. Sometimes you hear Artie, but not much. Don't hear Casey. It's just like we like these people. Like over time, you get familiar with them, and you care about them. You want to know what happens, and they just leave you high and dry. Fred. I love Fred. I think he's underutilized. I think Howard's mean to him. So's Robin. They don't give him enough airtime. I feel like they don't let him play enough sound effects. I love Fred. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. I just feel like he's so underutilized. He's the king of sound effects, and like you don't hear many sound effects anymore in the shows. I just not much at all. He's just the best. So many times I've laughed just because of stuff he's played, and I just don't really hear him as much, and I wish I did. This was the last straw for me. Not enough shows, not enough new content. He only does 3 days a week every week, but he also takes vacation like all the time, and it's like 2 week vacation. So you get replays, which suck. The thing that really pushed me over the edge was this summer vacation. When he said he was going to be gone till September, that's 2 months of shows that's just going to be terrible replays. People are paying a premium price for replays of stuff that they've heard probably dozens of times. Play some of the new content. Play some of the backlog content. No. Let's play the clip of the 12th Miley Cyrus interview. But that's what really pushed me to just cancel the subscription, is that You're paying money and he's taking off for that long. Not only is there already not enough shows per week with this 3 shows per week, but you're not getting enough content in each show. You're just hearing him bitch and hearing Robin agree. There's like no new content, and the stuff you do get, it's not that good anymore. And it's a shame because I used to be a huge fan of the show. But honestly, I just started listening to old clips of Opie and Anthony show. Way better. Throw on a crime podcast, Crime Town, I've been listening to. Way better. I don't think I'll really miss the Howard Stern show because the last few weeks that I did listen to it, I was just skipping through most of the show because it was just unlistenable or completely uninteresting to me. I maybe will be curious when it gets up to his last couple shows, but by that time, who knows what form the show is going to be in. I mean, in conclusion, the show's changed a lot over the years. There's just more stuff that I don't like than what I do like. And what I do like, there's not enough of. Those are the reasons why I stopped listening to the Howard Stern show. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.